Not many game franchises get better with each release. This one does. And for the second lap in Nintendo's Mach Speed Racing series, the mathematical symbol for multiplication is a fitting suffix. Multiplying everything that made the original great equals F-Zero X. Released to the Nintendo 64 in 1998, F-Zero X came 7 years after the franchise made its debut on the Super Nintendo. With impressive use of Mode 7 graphics technology and a really unique gameplay premise, the original F-Zero was a truly pioneering racing game, especially in terms of what it achieved visually. And visually, there's a lot to like about F-Zero X, too. The game runs at an unflinching 60 frames per second, a staggering achievement in 1998 that created an incomparable sense of speed. But if what you were seeing was the calling card of the original F-Zero, what you're doing defines this spectacular sequel. F-Zero is a racing game set hundreds of years in the future, a time when motorsports have lost the motor. These vehicles hover above a dangerous racetrack, blasting into turns and screaming down straightaways at speeds in excess of 1,000 kilometers per hour. F-Zero games have never been about car models or simulation. This is a visceral arcade racer that's all about memorization and reflexes. Of course, those are broad statements about the series in general. Where this one moved the series forward is, first and foremost, in its sheer amount of content. There are an incredible 30 drivers per race, more than 7 times the amount of the original F-Zero, and all of which can be on the screen at once. There are more game modes, more Grand Prix Cups, more tracks, there's multiplayer. I mean, F-Zero X is truly F-Zero multiplied. And another evolution, noticeable to say the least, is the course design. F-Zero takes the devilishly well-designed tracks of the original into 3 breathtaking dimensions. In fact, the move to 3D was as beneficial to F-Zero as it was for any game series. Courses now curve and twist into the sky, corkscrewing through oceans of sand and otherworldly metropolises, and perhaps most importantly, eye-popping modernity. That full-fledged attack the game's speed launches upon your senses is flanked by the radical jolts in perspective. All of a sudden, you're upside down, driving across what was only a few seconds ago the ceiling. You're free-falling from the sky, plummeting from the clouds after an unexpected drop-off, and hoping that that rapidly approaching speck is something you can land on. Let's be honest, racing games can be mundane. There's nothing mundane about F-Zero X. If ever the phrase had a legitimate application, this is an edge-of-your-seat video game. And although it's every bit as challenging as it is thrilling, it's also easy to play. Thanks to its arcade DNA, F-Zero X has really accessible controls, and more importantly, they're absurdly tight. F-Zero X is a constant thrill ride, thanks to its ridiculous speed and track layout, but there's also a real design savvy here. The graphics are basic and you might even say bland when they're still, but in motion, F-Zero X is almost hypnotic. The game's futuristic look is complemented by a more fully realized comic book aesthetic, not to mention a little Art Deco of all things, wrapped in bizarre neon packaging from the other side of the universe. And yet, somehow, those oils and waters come together to create a visual style that's typically Nintendo and undeniably cool. A pair of descriptions that are a fitting summation for the underrated Nintendo 64 gem, F-Zero X.